Good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and present with us is a road crew and supervisor being present, who is Bear Taylor. And Bear, if you would lead us off, please.
Sure thing. I really hate saying this, but it's been relatively quiet still. Mostly just because of the weather conditions, enough to.
Uneventful is the word you use.
Yeah. Yep. We did get a couple calls for some different various road signs missing around the county, so Shayla's gonna be working on those over the next few days. Some of them I think were weather related, some I think people wanted them on their garage wall. There's some that just like to disappear. Pretty normal there. We got another request to grade Corbin Road. Let them know that can't really grade right now. Things are a little frozen and snow packed and ice covered, so.
Have you been on that road lately?
Not for about a week.
I know it's a rough butter when I was up there last week, so.
But if everybody drove F-150, we wouldn't have to grade anything.
That's true, man.
That road's a lot smoother in my truck than it is in anything else I drove on.
Yeah.
Still doing a lot of plowing and sanding up north, a lot of cleanup work, sanding those shaded areas and corners, just keeping the roads as safe as we can. Did send a couple guys out Friday with that storm to get cleaned up where it needed to be. Still doing a lot of equipment maintenance and tree trimming up there. It's kind of our busy work in the downtime of plowing. Boulder guys, they went out yesterday, did a little sanding in the morning, and then we're out in the grader in the afternoon, pushing snow back around Upper Valley with the wing. I got Rory in today, helping them do Elkhorn, and then we'll go from there down towards Basin Creek. And then eventually end up in Elk Park and get all that pushed back before it gets too deep to manage. Starting to get some pretty good drifts and piles down along that way. Decided we wanted to get to it before it was a problem this year, so that it's not so hard on the grader. Again, still just doing some plowing and sanding where needed. A little bit of cleanup up Basin yesterday. We're getting ready to burn a pile of all those willows and brush we pulled out off Acquaintance Lane down at the Mulvey Gulch gravel pit. We just got approval for that this morning from DEQ, so I don't know if we'll get it lit off today. We'll let everybody know and put something out when we do. Down in Whitehall, a lot less plowing and sanding, but still just keeping an eye on our roads, making sure we don't have any bad spots. And then they're doing a lot of vegetation management. We got the mini X down there. They have a lot of branches and limbs and trees they dropped through the summer and left piles along the road, so a lot of cleanup there. And then a lot of other areas that still need work addressed.
There's snow on the ground in Whitehall?
Not much,
No.
enough to crunch under your feet, but that's about it. There's probably half an inch there at the shop. So, yeah, pretty quiet everywhere. Staying busy in the central shop, so been a little nice not having plows in there every day.
No break, we don't have to use them.
Yeah, well, you need to think, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation. And then I do have just on here the group that's getting ready to do the work on the Bullion Crystal Superfund site of Jack Mountain. They contacted us earlier this summer about getting approval to do the work on the roads. Because DEQ's changed their policy now that a verbal authorization is no longer accepted, so we needed a signature. They didn't know if you wanted me to go ahead and sign it or if Mr. Chairman wanted to sign it. Just giving this company permission to go up and do improvements to our roads up in that area, so.
I think you're probably good to sign it there. Being near the road supervisor, you know what's going on up there, not you.
I agree with what you're saying.
It's one of those that's non-maintained roads, so anything they do to it's gonna be an improvement. We're not holding them to any standards on it. It's
We're not sure if it's our road, right?
that's a whole nother topic of conversation. Had a conversation with Rory yesterday about some of that stuff, and you mentioned that years ago he remembers agreements being in meetings saying, well, we need you to maintain this. So it'd be the county had started maintaining things, but there was never any real research done for documentation of who things related was. And I think we see that on a lot of these roads that we're dealing with questioning that at some point in time in the last 100 years, somebody said the county is going to maintain it, even though it may not have been a county road. And then just through the years became thought of as a county road.
you know,
So that's a big, long, I don't know that I'm gonna get that resolved before I retire like I thought I did, but we're gonna get it closer, so. I did not ask him yesterday about the traffic counter, but I did look into new ones, and depending on which route we go, we can get a pretty basic one for pretty reasonable price, only a few $100. So,
oh, okay.
you can get some nicer ones for that $2,000 to $4,000 range, but I think for our purposes and the amount of time we would use it, we could get something under $1,000 that'll do more than enough. It'll tell us how many cars are going up and down. But I'll get with him today before the end of the day and just make sure that something's not sitting around that we don't know,
Yeah,
and go from there. But we've gone through all of our shops so many times, cleaning things out and cleaning shelves off that unless
Probably
it's
trip
hidden
up.
in a corner, I don't think it's in any of our shops.
yeah, Rory would probably know. If he doesn't know, then
Yeah.
we're kind of done.
Yeah.
But if they're under $1,000 for a decent one, we can probably
Yeah.
afford that.
And there's so many different ones now. You got the old fashioned with the pair of cable that runs
Mhm.
across. You can get digital ones now that just count as the cars drive by,
Oh,
just
okay.
like, almost like a game camera type of setup.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of options we can look at. That may be a better way for us to go, so we're not laying them across rocky roads and punching holes in them. And
Yeah,
do a little more research on that. Still a lot of irons in the fire on a lot of little projects that I'm working on with the Forest Service up there on Schedule A's and everything else. So no shortage of work in the office, but just keeping the guys busy.
You think you're gonna have Forest Service, we're gonna be able to interact with them since they're cutting on the A's?
So this is with Hell in the Forest. They finally
Oh,
got
hell,
back
of
to
course,
me.
okay.
They've secured funding for some work up there for this last agreement. We've got to have a meeting because I don't think they fully understand how their own systems work. We had never had a conversation about us doing improvements up there, yet that round of funding that you were seeing was like 40 grand for improvements. And he wants to know when we're gonna get around to those. And we never had that conversation. They were supposed to have their contractor go and do that before we started doing maintenance,
Right.
so. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, if they've got the money and they're not gonna hold us to any time constraints, then maybe we can do something in our downtime, but. We have so many other projects in there that we need to get to, like McCarty Creek and Little Boulder and some other stuff that adding another Forest Service road for improvement is not very high on my list.
we could contract that out though, right?
Potentially, it just depends on cost versus what they've got allocated. Yeah, that's kind of what we got going right now, though.
Have you talked to Steve Marks on that culvert?
No, it was under every intention last week to get up there, and I was out pretty much all week, so it's, I'm working on some stuff for our fuel supplier today. We've found some discrepancies in some billing and from 5-6 years ago, we're trying to get things figured out so we can get our account squared away. If I can get through that early enough today, then I do plan on getting up there. If not, it'll be tomorrow. I want to go look at it before I even waste his time with it. It may not even be a feasible option.
Yeah, I don't know where that road, it almost looks like it comes down here maybe.
Yeah,
Under their shop.
but it could be a rutted out nasty bucker too.
Yeah. But I mean, if we can improve it enough just to make it a temporary,
Yeah.
1 or 2 days to get through there.
That's, I don't think if to replace it, I don't think will be more than, I mean, a day really, but 2 will give us that cushion.
Actually, it looks like a pretty decent road.
And it could be. So I'll get up there. I mean, the downside is just the excessive traffic coming past their place, but
Right.
maybe if we can work it out, maybe we can get a load of mag, put on there to keep dust down. Maybe we can do something for some traffic and for just some signage, you know. Do whatever it takes to appease them to help us out so we can get that taken care of. And we'll have to put out, you know, public notices and quite a bit of traffic control and detours and whatnot, but nothing we can't handle.
Doesn't look like there's anything to the west going out. It's close, but. Rocky Mountain Drive.
You give me a dozer, I'll make it happen, but the dozer, we have
Punch
to
one right
do
here.
it. So I think it'll probably be, I think it'll hold, I think it'll be fine to maybe look at doing it closer to the end of summer. But it's not caving, it's not failing immediately, so it's. Unless we can really get through it and get it set up to do early spring, it may be a late fall kind of scenario, just at low water. It's gonna be really hard to time it to where the ground's thawed, but we're not getting all the runoff.
Did Great West look at it yet, or?
They've looked at it, it definitely needs to be replaced. You know, I threw some ideas at them for repairs. But our big concern, and I just got an email back from Megan, is the way we would repair it would reduce the size of that culvert, which would then put issues into our flood map. Or for the 100-year flood, and we would have to have it engineered to show that it would not increase the water level more than 6 inches during a 100-year event. And the best case scenario is if we can get an alternate access and just replace the culvert with what's in there.
I wonder if it would be wise to get traffic count on that before we hit up Mr. Marks.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know if you can get a hold of Madison or Lewis and Clark and see if they got an old one they would borrow us for a week, and we can get a idea of what the traffic is through there.
Sure.
It'd be nice to know if it's 100 cars or 1,000 cars.
Yeah. And the way we've done it I believe that in our subdivision standards says that I think it was 8 cars a day per household for an average calculation. But
I don't know how many houses are up there, but
it should be easier to borrow one. I'm not that good at math. Yeah, I'll reach out to Lewis Clark, we'll probably have one.
yeah, if you got a good relationship with the supervisor over there, it'd be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get with him anyways, cause he may have a used snowplow we might be looking at.
Okay.
He said he's got one more that he needs to get rid of, but I don't know if it's gonna be worthwhile for us to spend the money on. It's kind of similar to what we have, and some of that stuff is becoming obsolete.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's our problem.
yeah. Yeah, we're playing around with some ideas for plows, and one of our biggest issue isn't the size of the plows, it's the ability to haul enough sand, because we don't have enough sand piles through the county. So, you know, if a truck has to leave Montana City and go to the top of Corbin and Wicks, it's a lot of road miles.
Yeah.
If we didn't have to haul so much sand, if there was a way to reduce what we're using, or, you know, reduce where we're sanding, or get more piles throughout the area, we could go to a smaller truck. But we gotta be able to haul that sand, or maybe we can reduce most of the fleet to smaller trucks and just have 1 or 2 big ones for these long runs like Elk Park and Corbin and out to, you know, like Willow Creek area. But is that, you know, Madison only plows with pickups. But they also only go through about 200 yards of sand a year in each district, where we're going through 2,000-3,000 yards of sand in Montana City alone.
Could you plow it with a truck and come through after that with a bigger sand truck without a plow on it maybe or something?
Well, you're just doubling your efforts. You know, some days we struggle just to get what we have done in a day, let alone go back and do it twice with a separate truck. You know, like I said, a lot of it though is close enough where we use little enough sand. But I think we could get away with a smaller truck. We could look at something like a 5,500 or an F550, that, you know, 1.5 ton size truck where we can put a 9-foot plow on it. Be able to plow, they're a third of the cost of a big plow. But you're only hauling a couple yards of sand versus 8 yards.
Right.
You know, like Saddle Mountain area is right there by the shop, and all the South Hills, Jazz Creek, even clear down to Gruber. I think a load of sand would be pretty close. You know, you'd probably be coming back to the shop more often. I'd like to see if I can get a conversation going with the state about staging another pile. Their Clancy sand shed, and getting some form of agreement to utilize their loader at that sand shed to load trucks. Cause that would help cut a lot of back and forth, even with what we're doing now. I just don't know how interested they would be in doing that. They put sand there wouldn't be a problem, it's the machine to be able to load it, or if I can find somewhere else where somebody's got room and we could park a backhoe, or spare backhoe down there, or something to make it easier. Just a lot of ifs, a lot of brainstorming to come up with ideas to make it easier on us.
There's probably not enough room at the solid waste site up there, huh? It's pretty
Pretty
steep.
small, yeah, they're pretty restricted on space. I mean, I could dose that out flat and make a spot for a pile off to the left there.
Yeah, I mean, you got this room, it's a hill here, but I think this is the old landfill here, so you'd have to
Oh.
be careful with what you
Yeah,
compact.
we'll play with some ideas and. I don't know, maybe even talking to Montana too, now, I mean, that's kind of for one road, I was gonna say Montana tunnels would probably let's put something up there, but. That would be for one truck to be able to run down and reload. Wouldn't benefit anybody else.
Devastating.
But and I'd rather have it closer to Clancy, so it
Oh,
would
yeah.
benefit more, at least two of our trucks, two of our routes would be benefited.
Yeah, I can't think of any other.
Yeah.
Public
We don't
place.
wanna put it too public, because I guarantee people will be
Borrowing.
borrowing sand.
Yep.
We have that problem at this yard alone, let alone if we were to just put a pile somewhere where it wasn't fenced in.
Is the state's thing right there?
Yeah.
Where it's out of that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that must be Steve Mark's
It
property.
is, yeah. It used to be owned by Gruber. I know when I first started with the state, Gruber owned it, and then he sold off to Marks. But they've got their sand shed there, and they've got room that we could put piles. It's just, can we use their loader, or is there somewhere we could plug in a backhoe? So when it's cold, it'll start.
Yeah, it might be worth looking if they got electricity at that shed.
They do, yeah, it's all.
We could
Yeah,
pay
lights.
for the power or something. I don't know if they got an easement through there or how they're legally tied to Marks, but
Yeah,
I bet you we.
there
could work
used to
something
be
out.
it was telling me, I think it was Gene, the former county driver out of Montana City, was telling Dylan or Shrub recently that that's where the old county shed used to be.
Really?
And it was, you know, they had no furnace in it, it was all wood heat, and they'd have to huddle around the wood stove. Yeah,
I think that was a long time
Very
ago.
long.
Cause I remember the county having something there, but
yeah, very long time ago, you know, Gene was here for over 40 years, so that's a long time ago.
Yep.
But we'll play with some ideas. I don't know, maybe Steve's got somewhere we can get onto another section of his property, or start throwing out some ideas to some of these people with room.
Yeah, that would be most convenient there right off the interstate. Good.
Yeah, that's all I got for you. Just trying to figure out how to do our jobs better.
So I was gonna call Mike Zimluck up in Elk Park. Do we wanna try to get out of that completely, or just let him know that we're limited on when we can get over there and push snow, or what's kind of your thought on that? I don't know if we're gonna get out of it completely. I could talk to him and see if he's got another way.
We can get out of it completely when I tell you guys to quit plowing it.
Well,
then
politically,
he'll talk to him whether he wants to or not.
yeah, exactly.
You know, I think, you know, and that one, and even Elkhorn is kind of the same thing. You're talking to Rory's, you know, it was one that we used to never plow, and then it was kind of one of the locals would plow it, and then it got worse, and this is when it's bad, can the county swing in there if you got time, and that's the way it was, and then it became the county plows it all the time.
That's how it usually
And
works.
that's the way Elk Park kind of got, and a lot of that stuff, I don't mind helping out, but then when do we draw the line of, you know, Clancy and Montana City, we don't plow their stuff, they hire contractors for it, and, you know, who's ultimately responsible, and why are we doing one and not the other?
Yeah.
You know, if it's something that we need to do, and especially for emergency services, I'm all for helping out as much as we can. I think they just need to be more realistic in their expectations, and understand that that is a very low priority for us.
Right.
And if they feel that they need it done in a more rapid fashion or in a different way, then they may have to look at alternate sources. If they are willing to let us do it when we can, and if we can, then we can continue to do it, but. You know, like this last storm, I said there's only a couple of inches. I'm not gonna send a guy all the way down there just to go plow that
Right.
part of the lot.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be, is that we get in there, if they can't get it done, you know, it gets too deep or whatever, kind of like we do with, what's that one over there by Bernice, the Bear Gulch? Is it Bear Gulch?
Yeah, very much, yeah.
We help them once in a while when it gets way too deep or the road starts shrinking in.
I think that's the way they all needed to understand is that if we have time, we will help. But if they need it done better than what we're doing, they need to figure out a way to make it happen. You don't need to be getting phone calls wondering why we haven't plowed it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Good deal.
There, what did you say on, because I came in a little part on the various locations as for the signs, is that all over the county or?
Yeah,
Or the north?
it happened. It's all the time. Some signs, the wind knocks some of them off. Kids like to steal for the fun of it. I mean, they just disappeared. We've just had a few calls. There's a couple down off a Little Boulder. I know there's one on the upper end of the valley, a couple in Montana City area. I'm sure there's a few down south. So we usually just send Shaylee a list and she'll bust out a bunch of signs every couple of weeks.
Do you want to do minutes before we?
Yeah, that's next. Do you have any other thing? Okay.
Thank you for helping with that ambush.
Did that turn out okay?
As far as I know, yeah.
He was very apologetic and good for me to deal with, and I told him to call me if he had any other issues, or I said, go out and talk to Dylan and don't start off in just a bad mood, and they'll help you out, but listen to what they're telling you. There's a reason behind it. So he was pretty good about it.
Yeah, minutes here, I have January 14th of 2025 with, county planner, same date, meeting with safety, same date, solid waste.
Well, it's
And-
always we should.
Solid waste you can pull out of there.
Oh, pull it out?
Solid waste.
Okay. And then, road and bridge, so I have 3 with this date. Have a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll move to approve those minutes. Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then I have, this would be in 2024. Got 3 of them. February 6th was the meeting with the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest Road and Bridge Report. And then the meeting with the county treasurer on April 16th, 2024, and the meeting with the county health nurse June 4th, 2024. We have a motion to approve all 3 minutes as written.
Move to approve. You'll probably have to second it because
Yeah,
you
I'm
wasn't.
gonna-
I wasn't here. I was gonna say.
You approve minutes you weren't here.
All
for.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I could read through them and be fine, I think. but-
And that's it.
Thanks, Bear.
Thanks, Bert.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll get 2 Foot Friday this Friday.
If you say dirty words like that.
Every
It's
day
supposed to
been
get
pushed
some,
around.
it's supposed to be cold again, but I don't think it's got a bunch of snow.
Usually when it gets that cold, we don't see much snow. It's too dry.
Right.
It's when it's in the 30s that I would worry about a lot of snow.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention real quick for Macker that I'm gonna call and see if I can get one more room because it sounds like Dylan's gonna get his roadmaster as well. He's with the downtime, he's watched like 30 videos in the last 2 weeks to make up all of his optional credits.
There you
So,
go.
we're gonna play it by ear as it gets closer to see if we both wanna be up there. I think it's gonna be slow enough around here that it won't be a problem, but we'll play it by ear. I might just get an extra room just in case though.